Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
Wow, what a great way to gather together after this Thanksgiving celebration. You know, whether we traveled, whether we stayed in, whether we had family, friends, or just solitude, because sometimes I love me some solitude. We had some time to spend in our hearts feeling the gratitude. So welcome everyone to coming back in to this community on the end of the holiday celebration. My name is Reverend Pam Gutierrez, honored and blessed to serve as the Associate Minister of this loving community. And as we are seeing Thanksgiving in the rearview mirrors, I'm wondering just how many of you spent the very next day prepping for Christmas. Who woke up on Black Friday morning like, all right, time to get that tree up, time to get the decorations out of the garage, time to get out to the shopping mall, or at least online? Yeah? Okay. Now, who didn't even wait until Friday morning? Yes, we are in the holiday spirit, right? It's like this one long celebration from Halloween into Thanksgiving and on to Christmas. And in fact, our kids zone has been prepping for Christmas already as well. They have been practicing their Christmas pageant. Shantae told us a little bit about that this morning. And so have other youth and family ministries around the world. As a parent and a former youth and family ministries facilitator and director, evidenced by this photo of my kids in 2011, it is both a stressful and a rewarding task. Now, I'm going to share with you a description that I received via email from my friend Doris, who is at my former church in Oregon. She writes, "Good morning to Pam from way out west in rainy, chilly Oregon." Okay, already I'm grateful that I'm here in sunny Florida, right? I just wanted to let you know how the children's Christmas program is progressing, as our first full rehearsal happened yesterday. This was a couple weeks ago. Only a handful of kids showed up last Sunday morning to start working on the play, and we had gathered props for just a few. Well, all the expected kids showed up early, and then another family with 2 kids arrived, and another family with 3 kids, and another, and another, and another. And before long, we had 20 aspiring actors in the room when we started the rehearsal, including the little boy who had eagerly accepted the role of dog last Sunday, and he had apparently been practicing his barking all week. So somewhat chaotically, we began to tromp through the plot, and there were 2 middle schoolers who were being very helpful as they assumed the leadership roles to guide the horde of little ones through the storyline. So I asked who wanted to play the role of Mary, and one tiny little 3-year-old girl jumped up and volunteered. Oh, I looked around for a possible other child, an older child, but nobody wanted the role. So then I asked for Joseph, and Barry, a middle schooler who had repeatedly said he'd help, but he could just not possibly appear on stage, much less say anything. Barry jumped up and said, I want to be Joseph. And he asked if he could wear a mask on stage. I readily agreed, so he gently took the hand of the diminutive and silent Mary and started walking towards the stable. I instructed Mary to pick up the truly bedraggled baby doll that was our baby Jesus, but she curled her lip in horror, refusing to touch it. Joseph wouldn't touch it either. So I asked Tammy, one of the middle schoolers who was serving as a stagehand, to please get the baby and put him in the manger. And with this, Dolly was flung over the heads of the horde of aspiring little actors and landed in the manger. On we went. Called for shepherds, nobody wanted to do that, but they liked the idea of being sheep. So a huge group of them started walking on all fours and baaing loudly. And with no shepherds and nobody interested in being a wise person from the east or anywhere else, the dog barked louder and added a repertoire of growling and snapping and lunging. Somehow, we finished our rehearsal. I was feeling discouraged. But then Barry said very earnestly, "Oh, will we get to do that thing at the end where all the actors go on stage in a line and hold hands and bow for the audience? Because I've always wanted to do that someday." I assured him that we definitely would do that. So it looks like we will be helping him fulfill a lifetime dream of performing on stage and getting applause when he takes a bow. Now my belly hurts from laughter, and my heart is full, and I'm grateful and feel blessed to have partnered with Doris on so many youth and intergenerational projects. She's a retired teacher and a children's librarian, as well as a very talented puppeteer. She's a brilliant example of someone who has found her purpose and gives in service. And we're closing our series on the 4 T's today with this topic of tithing of our talents. It means to discern your gifts, these gifts which you have been blessed, and match them to sacred service opportunities. To find your purpose and give in service. The Unity Worldwide Ministry's Spiritual Gifts Discovery Guide states, "Thriving spiritual communities intentionally engage members in growing and evolving spiritually and relationally through sacred service. This is far beyond mere volunteering." In other words, your personal development, your personal spiritual development, and the spiritual development of the whole community expands as you determine who you were sent here to be. Does anybody out here have a personal mission statement? Some of you do, but even if you don't, you can probably identify what brings you joy, how you feel fulfilled, or what you're good at. What are your character strengths? Those can tell you what your spiritual gifts are. And on the screen now are just a few possibilities of what those spiritual gifts might be. Could be any of those, or it could be peacemaking, healing, collaboration, assisting. That's a gift, to be a good assistant. These are just some ideas. In the first letter of Peter, chapter 4, we read, "As each has received a gift, employ it in serving one another as good managers of the grace of God in various forms." Because each of us has unique gifts and talents to share. And all of them are valuable and necessary. First letter to the Corinthians says, "There are many members, but one body." Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore gives us the metaphysical interpretation that there is only one body in the universe. We are each a member of that body. The body of Christ attains perfect expression when each member, each individual, steps fully into their Christ nature, which means to find your purpose and give in service. So we've talked about discerning your gifts. So now what do you do with them? In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus shares the parable of the talents. Now, a talent was an old measure of money. And there was a rich man who was going on a trip, and he entrusted all his goods to his servants. To one servant he gave 5 talents, and another he gave 2, and another he gave 1. And these were all according to their capabilities. Now, the servant who received 5 immediately went out and started trading, and he doubled the money. Likewise, the servant who had received 2 went out and doubled his money. But the servant who had received 1 talent dug a hole and hid it. And upon the master's return, the servants who had made a profit were told, "Well done, well done." But the servant who only returned what he had been given was thrown out into the darkness. So metaphysically, this story illustrates that we have within us the capacity to increase our knowledge of divine mind, our knowledge of ourselves. The servants who were told, "Well done," demonstrated the right use of those capabilities. The servant who hid his talent failed to use the capacity that he was given. Thus, we are each called to multiply our gifts by finding our purpose and give in service. And here are some examples and some invitations to serve. Now, on Thanksgiving Day, from this community, over 40 representatives from Unity on the Bay served at branches to prepare and deliver meals to those living in poverty through our Angels Everywhere ministry. Can we give a round of applause to our servers? Now, the next opportunity to be part of that team is for our Christmas toy drive, which is gearing up now. So is generosity one of your gifts? Or maybe teaching or assisting or just plain joyfulness is something that you're good at and like to share. Well, our Kids Zone attendance has grown, and we are ready to train classroom facilitators. Yeah. So you also see our hospitality team serving every Sunday, the choir, the prayer chaplains, all of the other teams that pull together to bring you a jubilant Sunday experience. Let's just take a moment and be grateful for everybody involved here. There are too many ministries for me to name. And I invite you to visit the tables at the Sacred Service Fair, which is in the back today. Especially stop by the Kids Zone to get a donut and for more information about our classroom opportunities. And you can check out the opportunities at unityonthebay.org volunteers to find your purpose and give in service. Leo Buscaglia wrote, "Your talent is God's gift to you." Take that in. Your talent is God's gift to you. But what you do with it is your gift back to God. And we know that what we give is returned to us by the law of giving and receiving. As Noelle said in her meditation, I am loved because I have loved. It all comes back. And so back to Doris in rainy, chilly Oregon. In 2019, I invited her to partner with me in founding a ministry to provide spiritual education to previously incarcerated teenagers. And she has continued this ministry and formed new partnerships since my departure in 2022, inspiring others to join her in that ministry. And about this ministry, she wrote, "Our work there seems so very simple. Just sharing an hour of positivity and love and working together on some easy art projects or games. Yet it seems to fill us, and hopefully them too, with something we all desperately need and crave. I would never in my wildest dreams have predicted that this would be something I would do in my retirement years. Something that could fill me with such joy and maybe do some good for my little corner of the world. Now, Doris and her new partner in that project, Alice, have inspired hundreds of teenagers over the past few years with Unity Principles for Living. Just take a minute and imagine the ripple effect that that has on the world. Her personal spiritual development, she was learning Unity Principles and going deeper as she was sharing them with those teenagers. So she was growing spiritually, and the community she was serving and those teenagers that she interacted with. This all has expanded the consciousness as Doris determined who she was sent here to be. Thomas Edison wrote, "If we did all the things that we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves." How will you astound yourself? And I'll leave you with Doris's thoughts about this year's Christmas play. Whenever I get discouraged and think that we can't do this, I remember a very sincere little boy who didn't think he would ever get to be on stage and take a bow to audience applause. And how all of us together are going to make that happen for these kids. Even the one who stutters. Even the little doggy character who growls and snaps. Even little quiet Carol who is accustomed to her older sister getting all the praise. And all the kids who really just want to be sheep and whose only line is bah! And for the talented singing twins and the other kids who love to be on stage and sing and dance and talk and everything. She writes, "I need to get started making some costume pieces for the dog and a large flock of sheep." Although peace has been in short supply here so far, may we all be filled with the love, faith, hope, and joy of Christmas. Amen, Doris. Here's to you all finding your purpose and giving in service. And so it is.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.